The situation at the border is one of the toughest challenges we face. It is complicated, changing, and involves vulnerable people at a time of a global pandemic.
That was Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas during his visit to the border yesterday. During that trip, he announced that we had another record high in terms of migrants coming in. This is official new numbers. More than 212,000 migrants were encountered last month. That is a 21-year high. This does not include the gotaways. Tens of thousands of others got away. They are seen on surveillance cameras getting into the country and moving past the border. Joining me right now is Colorado Congresswoman and House Budget and Natural Resources Committee member Lauren Boebert. And Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. You heard Mayorkas call it a challenge once again. Your reaction?
Well, in my censure resolution that I introduced to censure President Biden for his dereliction of duty to secure the southern border, I called for the removal of Secretary Mayorkas, and I certainly support Chairman of the Freedom Caucus Andy Biggs' efforts to impeach Secretary Mayorkas. While President Biden is threatening more lockdowns of law-abiding citizens, he still refuses to lock down our southern border. We're seeing records broken every single month from border crossers, illegal drugs crossing and killing our citizens. Enough fentanyl has been released into our country, as you know, Maria, to kill every American multiple times over. It's out of control. It requires more documentation to go to a restaurant in New York City than it does to cross our southern border. That is ridiculous. Under Biden, requiring ID to vote is considered Jim Crow 2.0, but illegally crossing our southern border with no ID gets illegal aliens free flights to any city of their choice, and this is unacceptable.
Well, it is unacceptable, and it's absolutely extraordinary that your colleagues are rolling over for the Democrats in the face of all of that. I mean, let's talk about this spending spree and a split within the party this morning. A group of moderate House Democrats say that they will not vote for reconciliation unless House Speaker Pelosi allows a vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Congresswoman, you know as well as I know, Nancy Pelosi is tying these two bills. Why is it that your colleagues in the Republican Party did not demand that the Democrats and this administration acknowledge the crisis at the border, demand that there is something done for all of the COVID coming into this country before agreeing to spending $1 trillion on infrastructure plus?
Maria, I have many of the same questions and many of the same frustrations. It is very unfortunate to see the same Republicans do this once again. There are so many times that we've looked back and Republicans think that if they give just a little bit, the Democrats will somehow play nice, and it never works out. If we keep spending like AOC and Nancy Pelosi, and frankly, many rhinos are trying to do, it won't be long before Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has to call J.G. Wentworth at 877 Cash Now just to keep the government open. This $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill had $7.5 billion for electric school buses. It funds research for safe wildlife crossings, funds for salmon recovery, and I could go on and on. And now Democrats want to spend $3.5 trillion on literally everything you could imagine, minusing reopening our economy, securing the southern border, and building the much-needed Keystone XL pipeline. Biden and Schumer certainly aren't paying for this, and Nancy Pelosi is not paying for this. The American taxpayers are paying for this. Watching this program, they know that they're the ones who are going to have to foot this bill, and they're the ones paying for this Democrat spending spree with their tax dollars. And there should have been a demand to secure the border and take care of COVID. The American people are suffering from these COVID restrictions and regulations. Our children suffering with the threat of being masked at school. Some schools are choosing not to. I'm very grateful for the school boards who have stood up for that. But COVID is being released into our country through the southern border on a daily basis. We have more than 7,000 cases just in McAllen, Texas alone.
Yeah, so I assume you're not voting for this bill when it comes to the House. And did you just say recovering salmon is part of the infrastructure bill? Is that what you just said?
Yes. Yes. Now, Maria, I have a real infrastructure bill that I've already introduced months ago. It's called the AIM Act, the America Infrastructure Modernization Act. It takes $650 billion of the already approved unspent CARES money, you know, the sixth CARES package, the sixth COVID relief package that the House passed and the Senate passed and Biden signed. That it would take that money that is not yet spent and put it towards real infrastructure. And the amount that I have, the price tag that I have on that, does not raise the American taxpayers' dollar any more than Democrats already have this year. And there's actually more funding for real infrastructure that we need here in America.
Well, we'll see how your colleagues on the left, the Democrats, the moderate Democrats, react to this infrastructure bill that has yet to have all the pay-fors that you need, as well as the much larger, what I believe is $5 trillion plan, even though they're selling it as $3.5 trillion. Congresswoman, we're watching all of it, and we'll continue to report on it. Lauren Boebert, great to see you this morning. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Maria.